Welcome to episode 1 of Streaming Fundamentals. The key ingredient, you. Now, originally I had a concept of using the Jung typology test, which is basically a personality type theory that was based off the work of Carl Jung and Isabel Briggs Myers. I thought this might be beneficial to see what your personality type is, but then I started to think about it, and it would just, unfortunately, it might end up pigeonholing you, or you might feel that, okay, these are the limitations of my typology. Basically, it's a psychometric that's used in the world of psychology. You'll have seen these little crazy personality tests online, but the thing is, they are kind of based off the scientific ones we use in psychology. And I thought it would have been beneficial, but I decided, you know what, that's going to be a little bit boring. I'll put a link for it down in the description, and if you want to take the test, or look at the different types of things that are out there, then maybe that'll be beneficial to you. So no, instead we're just going to look at some other things, and the first thing is, let's think about this, right? The key ingredient is you. Okay, it doesn't matter what platform we're talking about, it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you've got, it doesn't matter if we're talking about playing games, doing creative, cooking shows, music, chat shows. There's always going to be that one constant, and that one constant is going to be you. Okay, so let's just think about this. If we use Twitch as an example, and I use Twitch as an example because Twitch's statistics are really easy to get hold of. For example, based off of the last report, which the date of was July 29th of this year, there's about 2.2 million active Twitch broadcasters. Okay, current channels that are actively broadcasting. So that's a lot of people. You have to think about that for a second. Wow, that is a lot of folk. You have to try to stand out from these other 2.2 million people. And out of those 2.2 million people, there's about 22,000 partners. So only 1% of the broadcasters on Twitch are actually partnered. Now, you might be saying to yourself, holy crap, what chance do I have then? And that's not what we're all about right now. Of course there's a chance. Whether you're just starting out, or maybe you've been doing it for a while, there's a good chance you might feel that you've hit a wall, or you might be struggling, right? Or there's some things aren't going your way. And this is where it's important to take a long look at yourself. You need to look at you. You need to be your own best or worst critic, so to speak, because it's only through criticism that we can become stronger. And the big problem that a lot of people comment on is that broadcasters, streamers who feel like they're not doing well, or they're not growing, they don't tend to focus inward. They tend to focus outward, right? They tend to say things like, what chance do I have when this person's on? Or, all the big channels are stealing my potential views. Or, this guy's playing the same game. Or gal, right, let's just stop. If we go back to the psychology concepts, the famous psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud came up with this concept of denial. And I'm going to expand on that a little bit. When we get into the realms of justification, there's the big three. And those are denial, blame, and minimization. Now, denial is when basically someone tells you or presents a fact to you about yourself that makes you so uncomfortable. And even if there's a whole lot of evidence that suggests or that shows that this is an absolute fact, we tend to just throw it away. We completely deny it. Like maybe there's some difficult truth about you as a broadcaster. Maybe you're too quiet. Maybe you don't talk enough. And your immediate response, that's not true. That's not true. I'm interactive. Well, are you? You need to look at that. Another form of justification is blame. And this is when, again, someone might come with a very similar fact or a hard, difficult truth about you. And you try to shift that. You don't take ownership of it. You try to shift it onto someone else. So blaming when it comes to streaming, for example. Oh no, so-and-so streams at the same time as me. It's his fault, it's her fault. Oh, it's because my equipment's crap. That's why. We tend to shift the focus away from ourselves, instead of taking ownership of our shortcomings and blaming it on other things. And then the third one is minimization, where minimization is, it's not even really in between it. It's something totally different. It's when, again, a difficult truth, you're slapped with it right in the face and you just downplay it. Folks say, oh, hey, you don't talk enough when you stream. Oh, no, I talk a fair bit. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as you say it is. Or, well, this happened or that happened. You minimize things, you downplay them. And these are the three enemies of you growing as a streamer. Because anytime you find a reason of why you're not succeeding or why things aren't going your way that doesn't focus inward, then I'm sorry, but you're going to have problems. You need to look at yourself. So one of the easiest ways to do this when it comes to streaming is to watch your VODs, your video on demands, right? Just make sure that box is ticked, whatever platform you're on. And then once you're done broadcasting, maybe not necessarily the same day, but just look at how things went. What's a good idea too is to look at broadcasts that have went really well for you, depending how you gauge what that is. If it's a bunch of new follows, maybe it's a bunch of chat interaction, maybe it's just you had a really good feeling about the stream and felt awesome afterwards. Watch that VOD. Have a look and see what went right as well as what went wrong. And likewise, if you've had a broadcast where you've been sitting on a potato the entire evening, or maybe only one or two, or maybe even folk have came in, but they haven't stayed around, watch that VOD, and you might figure out why that is. Because let's be honest, when people go into Twitch channels, especially channels that they don't know about, if it's their first time seeing you, they're typically going to judge you in 5 to 10 seconds. So if you're someone that doesn't talk much, and you haven't spoken in 10 seconds, there's a good chance when someone tunes in to just silence, or you just staring at the webcam, they're just going to turn right back around. And I know that sounds tricky and difficult to constantly talk, and it is. That's when there's things you can do. You can play with your friends, so you're always having a conversation. One of the biggest excuses not excuses, sorry, wrong word. When people ask, oh, what makes you different, right? What sets you apart from other streamers? Oh, I'm interactive. Guess what? That doesn't make you different, because that's the whole point of the platform. Everyone's interactive. Or another prime example of one of these generic statements. What sets you apart from another streamer? Well, on my channel, they can have a sense of community. Again, everyone does that. We've all got a chat, right? That's the whole point, to have this sense of community. So you need to really take a long, hard look at yourself and think about what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Because in all honesty, if you've hit a brick wall or things aren't working out for you, the problem very well might be you, right? You need to think about this. Because every single excuse you're dreaming up, whatever it may be, guess what? Everyone that has succeeded has overcome that obstacle, right? We're all special snowflakes. But as far as the kind of problems and challenges that we encounter as content creators, everyone else has been through those. Unless we're talking about something completely out of left field, like a personal issue of some kind, then yes. But you know what I mean. Again, people are going to try to find every little kind of tiny excuse they can. Oh no, you didn't account for that, you didn't account for this. But honestly, you need to think about this. So you need to start analyzing yourself. If you're only streaming once a week, then you have to be realistic. You're not going to have a whole bunch of folk tuning in, because not everyone will be able to tune in that one day of the week. Same with if you only stream at certain times. You're kind of, focusing your audience to people that are available at that time. I'm not saying to do a whole bunch of crazy streams on different days and different times. It's just, again, analyzing these things. If you happen to work night shift and the only time that you can really stream is, say, 7 to 9 in the morning, how realistic is that for your time zone? Maybe people in other parts of the world will tune into you, but a lot of other folk are going to be getting up and going to work. You have to think about all these things. But this concept of only streaming once a week and, oh, why isn't my channel growing? Well, that could be the reason. Now, I'm not saying a stream twice a day, every day. I mean, that's crazy. For some people, it works. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. But you need to take care of yourself as well. I mean, back in the old days, yeah, folk were doing that. They were streaming 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, before they finally got a bit of success and then they could choose their schedule. They were just playing the numbers, right? You could do that. But I think when it comes down to it, you need to ask yourself, why am I streaming? Whether you're just starting out or whether you've been doing this for a while, what is your reason for streaming? Is it cathartic for you? Do you want to just, you're going to be playing games anyway, so why not stream? Or are you actually have a single-mindedness to, no, I want to do this professionally? Because if you do, you need to kind of shift your focus. You need to take a lot more deliberate, and it requires business plans, it requires networking, all these things that we'll talk about later. But you have to be realistic with yourself. Maybe I like to play football, right, occasionally. So does it make sense for me to say, right, I want to go pro? Sure, there's nothing wrong with having that dream, but again, you have to be realistic. If you think about, let me use this analogy. How many kids dream of one day going into space, of being an astronaut? Okay, take that number. That number's huge. Now, out of that number, take how many of those kids actually become, astronauts, whether it's the European Space Agency, whether it's NASA, whatever. How many of those kids actually become astronauts? Okay, right? You can imagine the percentage probably isn't that much. Right. Out of those astronauts, how many of them make it to space? See where I'm going with this? There's nothing wrong with having dreams and aspirations, but at the same time, you need to be realistic. More so, you need to look at yourself, because frankly, you might just not have what it takes. I mean, maybe you're not funny, right? Maybe you're just not enjoyable to watch. Don't take it, I know it's difficult to say not to take that personally, but you have to figure what it is you offer to your viewers. Whether it's you're being funny, whether it's you're really good at a certain game, whether it's you're actually horrible at a certain game and that's why people watch you, right? Figure out what it is, and you can talk to viewers about this. If you have a regular, audience, just ask them privately, right? Just, hey, can I ask you, why is it you tune into me? And you'll get some nice honest feedback. Get your friends and family to watch your VODs and give you a bit of feedback and say, oh, yeah, I like it when you do this, but not when you do that, as well as criticize yourself. You need to do this. You also need to think about how to set yourself apart, because quite frankly, maybe you're too generic. If you're one of the hundreds of thousands of people that's going to be playing, well, maybe tens of thousands, people that's going to be playing Destiny 2, right, in the next coming months, and it's just so similar to everyone else, right? There's nothing that really sets you apart. Maybe you've got a webcam, maybe it's down in, the corner, and you've got the same kind of generic alerts that other people are using. Why should I watch you over the person next to you, right? Think about that. There's nothing wrong, with following layouts and methods that work for other people. You should absolutely take inspiration from others. But, you need to think about what it is that you offer. And if you don't think there is anything you offer, well, you're wrong, because there is. We're all individuals. There's something special about you. It's just figuring out what that is. You might think it's an idea to maybe come up with a gimmick, maybe put on a crazy wig and an outfit, and that's going to work for you. And it might. Just keep in mind, there's folk that do that and they do it well. And likewise, those people just didn't have overnight success. They've been at it for years. Think of that one huge streamer on Twitch right now who, has a very, very awesome gimmick, cool costume and everything. And it's only really been this year that people have been talking about him a lot. And people think he just came out of nowhere. Whereas in all reality, he's been on the platform for years. But it's only been recently that, he's really in the limelight. So, just think about that. I hate to say this, but quite frankly, people might just not like you. Yeah, I know it sucks, but that's life. I know, I can't say don't take it personally, because of course you will, but just rub it off. There's a viewer out there for everyone, just like there's a broadcaster out there for everyone. You know, there's a lot of folk that I might tune into, I don't enjoy, so I don't stick around. It's not because they're bad people. Maybe it's just not, my cup of tea. Do we all watch the same thing on television? If you like The Walking Dead, does that mean I like it? Because I don't. Maybe I love Game of Thrones, but you don't. Everyone has different tastes. You're not going to get everyone to pop in and enjoy your content. So just, keep your expectations realistic. I don't want this to all sound like a downer, because it's not supposed to be that way. It's just about really this, what we call self-reflection, right? You need to analyze yourself. You need to be your own biggest critic. Watch your VODs, get feedback off your friends, family, and other people, and figure out what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. There's no secret key to how to succeed as a streamer, because everyone's had a very different path. And it also depends what you measure your success as. Are we talking about paying the bills? Are we talking about being able to quit your job and sustain you and your family just from your streaming? Or are we talking about some of the crazy superstars who have are making 6 figures a month? It's possible, but it's unrealistic. You just need to focus on yourself. Don't look for excuses. Don't deny things. Don't blame things on other people and outside factors. And don't minimize actual proper criticisms you receive, right? If you need help to improve something, own it. Become it. Say, right, this is my new goal. I'm going to try to do this. And don't feel defeated. Just anything is possible, and with enough drive, determination, and honesty with yourself, you'll be able to do it. All the best. Just remember, the key ingredient is you. Best of luck.